Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. We are so glad that you are joining us to do our weekly setup. My name is Katie Gideon, and I am currently in the makings of a move. So normally I am in Texas. I just moved from Texas. So now I am currently in Tulsa, Oklahoma, hanging out with my parents for the next couple months. So I am joining you from the lovely Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I want to give a huge shout out to my co-facilitator, Bailey, who will be covering the chat. She is joining us from Tennessee, and we are so glad to be here. So glad to do our weekly setup this morning on a lovely Sunday. And get ready, no Sunday scaries. Get ready to go into this. So love this. So first things first. Just in community guidelines, be kind and courteous to yourself and others, no promotions or spam, respect everyone's privacy, no hate speech or bullying, limit repetitive product and accessory questions. We have an amazing headquarter team. If you need to have any questions for them under the customer care sign, let us know. We can give you the email, which is listed here. And then as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions, which probably seems a little strong for just a weekly setup. But in embracing this month's theme, as well as the mind map, this could get a little deep, a little, uncomfortable. That's why we're here, to just kind of give ourselves permission to explore those ideas. So make sure that if you just are here for kind of some of the other journaling stuff, or you just really need it for the weekly because you're just not in the right headspace, that's okay. Take a deep breath, listen to some music. I will say they are going to be heavily Broadway themed because the Tonys are tonight. I am a Broadway super nerd, so I love all of that. So I'm super excited about this evening. And I also love June is my birthday month, so I love that the Tonys are in June. I love that summer starts in June, and I am so a little intimidated by this theme in June, which is loyalty. Loyalty is definitely tricky for me. I am prior military, so loyalty hits me in all the very different fields. And so having to project that can be a little tricky. So then it becomes the self-loyalty that we are all going to kind of turn inward and focus on, because I think what I learned kind of the hard way is there is being loyal to other things, other people, other places. And sometimes that was at the expense of being loyal to myself. Not in a sense of doing things that weren't, appropriate, those type of things. It's just more of choosing a path because it fits with that mold instead of choosing a path that fit more me. So it's going to be a little tricky. And it starts with the mind map, which we're going to get into. So we got the loyalty mind map. We're going to do a rosebud thorn, which is an excellent way to reflect on the past week, move into the next week. Then we're going to do our weekly setup. So if you are a first-time socialer, welcome. A theme that we do with our weeklies on top of the monthly theme is we have this idea of a mind map. So we're going to explore different parts of the monthly theme at each weekly setup. So this week we have 4 different weeks. So we're going to focus on different loyalty components, but also wanting to reflect kind of internal and more of that self-loyalty, which can be tricky. So find a blank space in your journal. You can repurpose some of your other trackers. I know folks have reused the expense tracker for this. I have repurposed some of the journal exercises that just don't speak to me. You can find kind of the shopping list square. These could be anywhere, or you can take one of those very coveted note page and turn it into your mind map. So this week, week 2, we are going to work on examining your likes and dislikes. And what is interesting about this one is I feel like we have a surface like and dislike that we can explore, or you can kind of dive a little deeper, hence the ocean background, and explore some of those kind of inherent likes and dislikes that you can pull from some of those core values that we explored in week 1. So if you missed week 1, don't worry. That is examining your core values and beliefs. And this week, we're now going to take that a next step with examining your likes and dislikes. But don't worry if that sounds a little tricky. I've got some other questions that you can kind of help and use to reframe. So, as we examine our likes and dislikes, this isn't just kind of the, I like pasta, I don't like bananas. Like I said, I mean, those are great and those are fun lists to make, and we can usually rattle those off pretty quickly. But other things that I want you to kind of explore when we're talking our likes and our dislikes is what bothers you or doesn't sit well with you. A lot of this usually comes with interactions with other people or other situations, be it an interaction with someone, or maybe you didn't quite do what you wanted to do, so it doesn't sit well. So that would be another way to explore some of those dislikes. For the likes, what are your go-to initial choices when it comes with what you like? I always joke that, you go to the same restaurant that you love and you always order the same thing, but you're going to tell yourself that you're going to order something different because you always eat the same thing. Let's be honest, deep down, you're going to order the same thing. So it's kind of that sort of intuitive like component. And then kind of adding into kind of that deeper dive is what are things you like doing, but they may not necessarily be things that you are good at. I feel like this is where the true like and dislike starts to kind of harmonize, because just because you're good at something doesn't mean you like doing it, and vice versa. That I think is something that is to the very core of what I struggle with when it comes to loyalty. There are things that I'm good at that people appreciate, institutions appreciate, but at the end of the day, I just don't like them. And then the other, I feel like, valuable question is, what do you prioritize your time with? This one speaks to me a little bit when it comes to kind of relationships. When someone's like, hey, we should go catch up, we should go do something. And if you're still asking that person, well, do you want to do this? Does this time work? Does that type thing? And someone is like, well, I'm just too busy. It's like, okay, well, are you really busy, or is it just not a priority to spend time with me? Which again is fine. That becomes that like, if you put out your expectations, I will manage my expectations, but the prioritization things can add just a whole new perspective when you start talking with likes and dislikes. And then to kind of encompass some of those core values and beliefs that were maybe explored last week, does your lifestyle align with your beliefs? Are you being true to who you are? How can you make that a reality? And then as the kind of ever evolving joke is that, someone changes their colors, like chameleons change their colors, which is they adapt to every single situation. They change. A lot of it is not necessarily a decision. It is just that instinctual. So can you find a balance between a chameleon, and then on the opposite end of the kind of evolutionary scale is a horseshoe crab? That doesn't really change for anything or anyone, but it is still there doing its little thing. So finding kind of that balance between adapting and changing and being flexible and setting up all of those opportunities for yourself, but still kind of holding your ground, sticking to some of those core values. And I know that's a lot, and you're probably like, I'm not ready for this existential crisis that you appear to be going down, Katie, and that is fine. You can examine your likes and dislikes in any way that you want. This is just an opportunity to dig a little deeper, have a different perspective, reframe something so that maybe it gives you another idea, more opportunity, and all those things. So let us know how you're going to be exploring your likes and dislikes under the banner of self-loyalty. And we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. What I did see is that this is certainly tricky. It's the mind maps tend to seem, a little bit simplified and kind of easygoing as a good kind of introduction to the weekly setup. But like I said, I found this really tricky. I had to come back to it a few times. And that's okay. That is why setting some of these boundaries, it's not just setting it with your interaction, just in the kind of social group that we have here, but also just the mental boundaries that you need to set for yourself. Because by no means is this supposed to be a, all of the negativity that you see in your life. You're certainly not supposed to feel worse when you walk out of these. This is just an opportunity to kind of stand in front of the mirror, which can be a little uncomfortable times, putting that magic and power of pen to paper of, again, maybe not expressing things that you've verbalized, but just things that are kind of tooling around in your head that you want to maybe look at and explore, or just kind of the relief of getting some of these ideas out there. So if you need to come back to this, take notes. We'll provide the YouTube link and you can come back when you're in a little bit different headspace. But this is also something that we have the opportunity to explore throughout the month. So you don't have to have the answer today. You don't have to have the answer tomorrow. You can just kind of work on it little by little, take some of those like 5 minutes for your self-care each day to explore some of these things or ideas. And again, as powerful as they are to write them down, no one is grading this. You're not turning this in. But the opportunity to just sit and think on these questions, I think is what's really magical about this. So enough of the existential loyalty crisis I am having. We are going to move to Rosebud Thorn. And this is a really amazing opportunity to celebrate the wins that we had last week, the emerging opportunities, as well as maybe some of the challenges or things that didn't go well in this last week. So please, we are on page 36 from the previous week. If you haven't completed it, if you already have, don't worry, you can use it in a different section. But we're going to celebrate a rose, which is a highlight of the week, a win, something that went well. So for me, I had an amazing trip to New York City with a really good friend of mine. She got married. We were in Roxbury, New York for that wedding weekend. It was so much fun. I love her family. I hadn't seen her family in a really long time. So it was just super, super fun to just kind of celebrate that, celebrate her, celebrate everything that I think is what's just magical about weddings. The bud, as I said, is I'm in this kind of career transition. So I'm still starting to get a little excited about new opportunities there as I'm starting to kind of extract myself from one group, putting myself in the new group. And working there. Thorn, I'm moving. So my stuff is in 4 different places, in suitcases and boxes. I have a obnoxious pile of things on the bed that I'm staying in because I'm in my childhood bedroom. So my life is a little scattered at the moment, and I am feeling it not only physically with my things, but now I'm starting to feel it a little mentally and emotionally as I try to sort it all out. So I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to celebrate your rosebud thorns. Put it in the chat, and we will see you in a minute. Thank you everyone for sharing your rosebud thorns. I feel like it's the great combination of the controlled chaos that is summer, seeing all the vacations, coming back from vacations, heading on vacations, kind of into school activities, but definitely all the noteworthy things to celebrate. And what I loved is that everyone kind of came up with something. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to celebrate those wins, but that's what we're here to do. So if you find yourself struggling with finding either a rose or a bud, something a little bit more positive or optimistic, you can carry that over into the weekly planner to track that. I've had to celebrate my wins in the Mind Body Health plan because I was just feeling down, wanting to beat myself up about all the mistakes I was making. So the opportunity to kind of pivot as you go and celebrate those things on a daily basis, but then to look back on the week and see the good, the bad, and the maybe weird, or the budding opportunity type deal, is what makes it kind of really powerful, really fun, because now we can carry over some of those opportunities or things that didn't go so well into our weekly spread. So without further ado, we are going to move into the weekly planner. So in your June journal, week 24, which is, I can't believe it's already week 24, but we're on page 40 and 41 in your journal. And we're going to be filling that out. So we're going to start on page 40. We're going to start at the top with "This week I want to feel." What I like about this is this becomes the like mantra or the theme for the week for me. I come up with a word of how do I want to feel this time next week? Because then once I figure out how I want to feel this time next week, I will then pull that into my to-do list and my weekly goals and even my habit and activity. So that come Sunday morning next week, I can say that I felt this and I did all of these things to feel that way. So for this week, I want to feel organized. So here are a ton of other options. What I love is creativity. It becomes that kind of really great kind of grounding point of if you hit a low point in the week, how can you do to become and get back on track or back moving in the direction you want to go? I always hate to say track because movement is, the goal is movement, whether it is forward, back, side to side, any movement is good movement. And so here are a couple different approaches to this. So I'm going to give you all an opportunity to come up with how you want to feel this time next week. Thank you everyone for sharing your word of the week. They are all great. I love the varying degrees of it because like you said, it can be difficult to pick just one word. I am one of those people that I need to have like a word bank or a word pyramid. So one word seems to be a little bit tough. But it's always a really easy, simple thing to kind of come back to and ground yourself in how you want to do this week, what you need to do this week. And now we're going to move into our next section, which again, still on page 40, we're going to do the weekly major 3 goals. So there are so many different ways to approach this. There are no right ways, there are no wrong ways. This can always be repurposed. The way I connect my how I want to feel with my weekly major 3 goals is the weekly major 3 goals are maybe the mental or emotional reminders I need to give myself to get through the week. But I love the idea of categorizing each goal, one for work, one for body, one for mind. I still think the power of pause is really powerful, especially as we are moving from kind of the chaos of school years into the slightly different chaos of summer, and kind of navigating that kind of new normal, especially for some of our educators out there. So the power of pause is one of those things that I think is very simple, but can be extremely beneficial. Other ways you can do it is, again, just reminders to yourself, or these actually could be things that you need to accomplish in either a category, or it may just be another motivational piece that you want to kind of use, or really the kind of big things you need to be done. So if you're heading on a trip, do you need to pack? I am a packing procrastinator. So 3 major goals is usually kind of those type of things. Or like you said, you can overlay it with kind of a mental, emotional thought of here are the mantras that I need to do. A lot of that is breathe, listen, remove myself from the unimportant. So there, and as always, you can repurpose 3 things, 3 new summer reads, 3 topics you want to learn, 3 new recipes, or it can also be another place for a bingo board. So go ahead and share with us maybe how you approach your major 3 goals each week, or help us, celebrate and support you in achieving those 3 goals this week. And we will see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Stephanie, I love the idea of a left brain goal, a right brain goal, and a no brain goal. That's a great combination of analytical, creative, and then just turning everything off, quieting the mind, as Jen O always says when we do the coloring socials. But love seeing all the themes, as well as challenging ourselves to embrace kind of the overall themes of months. They were going to take a deeper dive into what kind of other meanings June has for certain groups of folks. But love seeing all of these ideas, all of these different approaches. And so now that we have how we want to feel this time next week and our 3 major goals, we're going to kind of fill in those gaps or fill in the pieces with the weekly to-dos. And so there are a couple, again, still on page 40. There are a couple ways to approach this, again, as your quintessential traditional to-do list. I am more of a to-do list person, and that's not necessarily anything different other than perspective. I will celebrate the tasks that I do because I need that added celebration to get things accomplished. We also have some other kind of great operational kind of project management tools with the Eisenhower matrix in the do, decide, delegate, and delete. Also the Pomodoro technique, where it is you pick a task, you set a timer, you work on that task until the time is up, and then you take a break, and then you can kind of come back to that task or move to a bunch of different tasks, and the timer can be set for any of those things. And then each time you accomplish a task, that's considered a Pomodoro. So if you challenge yourself to accomplish at least 4 to 5 Pomodoros a day, you'll really start kind of impacting that to-do list or to-do list, or a to-do list. You can also use a bingo board, and then a lot of folks have repurposed this as well for the mind map component. We are big fans of stickers and doodles, so I think the kind of adding something appealing to make you want to accomplish your to-do list is always a great perspective. Someone else has also divvied it up into something that is urgent and something that is not urgent. And then I came across the not so scary Sunday kind of decluttering concept in Skims, the 12-12-12 challenge, which, to be honest, 12 things seemed really a lot. So I think you could take that and turn it into a different number of things. But what I for sure loved is, especially with the donate and the toss, but what I really liked is the putting things back in their place. As I always refer to it, houses and apartments look very lived in at the end of my week. And so it's not because it's messy, or it's not because it's not clean, it's just because I didn't put things away. So the idea of counting a certain number of objects to then go back to their more permanent home, I think is a really fun approach, especially when you're dealing with kind of the panic that Sunday can be, where you still have all these things. So a couple different opportunities and a couple different tools. Let us know how you repurpose this section. Do you treat it as a separate component to just kind of your weekly spread? Or, as I've kind of navigated, the way I approach it is that I connect all of these pieces together. Do you have that same thought? Or do you, again, truly treat it as, I have this thing that I need to accomplish, here are these things, and here is this? We will see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Loved, like I said, the magic of kind of rediscovering the Pomodoro method. Just because I think it's something that a lot of us do kind of instinctually, or kind of the reverse, where it's like, I only have 15 minutes, let me see what I can get done. So sometimes a lot of these operational tools exist. If you've ever seen the movie Over the Hedge, where they have a big scary thing, a hedge, and then they say, well, I would be less intimidated by it if I could just name it. So I feel like once you kind of have all these operational tools and then you give it a name, you're like, man, I actually was already doing one of these. I feel really protective and powerful with my new kind of project manage operational to-do lists. So love that. Thank you everyone for sharing. So we are still going to be on page 40. And so we're going to move now into that bottom section of the habit activity tracker. So if you kind of are going with the theme of how I want to feel next week, here are the mental kind of emotional or physical goals that I want to have for that week. Here's my to-do list of all the things that I need to do to kind of accomplish those goals, or maybe feel that same way at the end of the week. Now we're going to kind of overlay that with a habit and activity. Because as we all know, we do have the monthly habit activity tracker, habit tracker. And so those are things that you want to do daily. And then the way I approach the habit and activity tracker is I have the things that I want to accomplish daily, but I'm going to overlay it with reality. And the reason I say overlay it with reality is so I want to move or do some sort of workout each day. But because I'm the Wicked Witch of the West, I melt in the rain. And now that I'm back in Oklahoma in the summer, it gets really, really hot. So I don't necessarily want to force myself to do all those workouts outside, because then, hydration becomes a whole nother thing, and hydration equals headaches. And then I just feel miserable instead of doing the simple thing of I just want to move. So I overlay that reality check of doing it so that I can accomplish not only my monthly habit goals, but also make sure that I am setting myself up for success and managing kind of those expectations. So a couple other ways to do this is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. Do something 5 times, do something 4 times, 3, 2, and 1. Another way to do it is to set it up with there are certain days that you're going to do this. So maybe it's something that you only need for a work day. You can use that option. And then what I also loved is you don't have to use all 5 lines. Sometimes it's just the shower, exercise, and do morning chores. You can also turn it into kind of maybe a morning routine or a evening routine, a nighttime routine. But you don't have to use all of them. If you want to, that's great. But you don't have to. And this is certainly something that you can adjust each week. That is also what's magical about this, is you get to start anew each week. So maybe that approach didn't work last time, or maybe you were just really, really busy and you needed to be a little bit more realistic. But I always then kind of use one that's something fun. So, make a new playlist, drive with the sunroof open, sing in the shower, sing out loud, dance to any type of song. So obviously give yourself some fun flexibility, because while we want to continue to make progress to our goals, we still need to kind of embrace some of the fun, spontaneity, as well as just kind of the opportunistic things that self-care comes up with. And then when in doubt, you can always kind of ground yourself in the theme of loyalty. So maybe we do need to focus a little bit more on those self-care items. So let us know how you use your habit and activity tracker. And here again are some other self-care ideas that you want to throw in. And we will see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Saw quite a few themes just with the kind of, setting aside as journaling as a specific component or movement being still a specific component. Definitely still embracing the routines. So love seeing that, and would certainly love to see in the chat if this is something that, are there ones that you kind of keep as a staple that you want to do every week as just a priority, or are these something that you kind of change week to week? For me, like I said, usually 2 or 3 tend to be a staple. I am certainly a creature of habit. Then I try to throw in a couple other fun things just kind of around the type of week that I'm going to have. So now we are going to flip the page. So we're going to be on page 41. Sorry, can't read my own handwriting. And we're going to do the meal plan. So in all reality, the first page that we just did with the how I'm feeling, to-dos, the major goals and habit activity, that is a page that I consistently do each week. This next page, we're going to treat it like the B-side of a good old record. I feel like the B-side I occasionally do, but when I do it, and I usually do it with a purpose, and that usually starts with the meal planner. I am a absolute habitual repurposing of a meal planner. But I love and respect those that treat it as truly a meal plan. That is not how I work. I have tracked kind of in real time what I've eaten and consumed because I have an autoimmune disease, so I was tracking symptoms. But for the most part, I changed this like it's my job. And here are a couple other really amazing kind of repurposing of this item. There's organizational or cleaning challenges, the GLAD method, which is to reflect on something that gave you gratitude, that you learned, that you accomplished, and that you delighted in. Another one similar kind of to that vein was the best part of the day. So you got to describe what you did that day that really made it special, what made it great, another way to celebrate a rose. You can also use it for the daily affirmations from the app. If you're not in our app, we'll provide the QR codes and links later. You can also use this to track workouts, like the idea of the big four, which was what exercise you did that day, the meditation, what book you read, and what you had for dinner. And then kind of taking care of the body internally and externally as a tracker. You can also just put kind of a motivational quote, motivational poem, stickers, doodles, any of those things. And I know that a couple of one of our facilitators, she tracks leftovers in her meal plan so that she makes leftovers so that she doesn't eat, keep them around, make people sick. So there's certainly other opportunities. I know folks that will also just kind of use this to plan like the major meals. You can track appointments, any of those things. So let us know how you repurpose, or if you don't repurpose. I certainly want to I'd love to find those people that truly use it as a meal plan, but love it. And so again, the flexibility of using stickers, washi tape, the opportunity to mark out anything, rewrite it to what you want, because at the end of the day, I love a good template. I love a good format. This is a great template. This is a great format. The GLAD is gratitude learned, something you're grateful for, something you learned, something you accomplished, and something that you delighted in. Changed up the tenses just so I didn't sound a little silly when I was speaking it. But honestly, this is a great tool. And again, on that, call it B-side. We're going to call this the B-side, on the B-side of this record. So let us know how you repurpose this. Let us know how you're tracking something. As someone who's also traveled, I've used this as a kind of packing list. So items that I can rewear, items that I can bring. I am a shoe aficionado. I like to bring lots of shoes when really and truly I only need like 2. So it really helped me kind of identify that so I could pack smartly, lightly, and efficiently. So let us know how you use it. We'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. That song was Somewhere by West Side Story, from West Side Story. That one's one of those that like quietly sneaks in there. Loved seeing everybody's ideas as a way to track how much you're eating out. Ooh, I think that's a great idea. I think I'm going to have to embrace that one a little bit because I think I probably eat out more than I would like to acknowledge that I do. So I think that's a great idea. I also love Tina uses hers as kind of a creativity and creative journal to that's stuff that brings her happiness. So she tracks when she is creative in some of those projects. Love seeing that. So as I said, this is a great template to repurpose. And so now we're going to still stay on page 41. Another one that gets repurposed a lot is the Mind Body Health Plan. So this is again another one of those that I think it's a great template, great format, and it can go hand in hand with that meal plan, or it can be something you track in real time, something you plan. I have tried to focus in a little bit more on journal prompts. I will ask myself those journal prompts in the weekly spread. So this would be on page 42, 43, and kind of give myself a prompt that I want to deep dive into because I've tried to refocus a little bit more on journaling. But there are other opportunities with what I want, what I need, something that I did well, some things we showed it. Again, another way to do a reading log, the 7 types of rest, another workout opportunity. So this is another good square that can go hand in hand with the meal plan or something that you can repurpose. We're also going to stick again to that page with the shopping list. Going to sound a little bit like a broken record. So another one to repurpose, you can put down your routines, other cleaning, packing lists, another place for another bingo board, a prayer list, reading log, quotes, or again, a traditional shopping list. I know Karen has put things in there that she wants, and I think Bailey does this as well. Putting an item that you want to purchase there, seeing if you still want to purchase it as kind of opportunities there. And then there are other doodles there. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of finish up with everything. Let us know if you repurpose these sections. So we're working on the Mind Body Health Plan as well as the shopping list. And then the next section at the bottom, which is the I am loving. This is just, I think, a really fun way to reflect on what you love for that week, what you're loving that day. There are no rules for those, or sometimes it's just a sticker, sometimes it's a quote. Again, super fun. And we will see everybody in a minute. Thank you everyone for sharing. Sorry, I'm struggling with my keyboard today, but thank you everyone. Loved seeing the time block idea. That was great, as well as the kind of learning section. Love seeing all the repurposes. Like I said, I feel like that's what my B record is necessary for. Thank you everyone for sharing. And then can you believe we have reached the end of our hour? Thank you everyone for joining us. We are so glad that you were here. We are so glad that you set it up for this week. Here is not only my playlist, but I will provide the link to Spotify. If you haven't, please join us in the Silk and Sonder app so we can continue the conversation. We love seeing everybody's examples as well as seeing their tips and tricks. As always, please share your feedback. That is why we have so many opportunities now for a weekly setup. We do them morning and evening, not just on Sundays anymore. And same thing with if you want more journal activities, what days you want it, let us know what time zone you're in and we'll make those adjustments. And then also the YouTube link. So if you needed to come back to that very, very tricky, very, very tough, somewhat deceiving mind map, you can definitely come back and do it. You can also see other weekly setups, which I would certainly highly recommend, not necessarily to set up the weekly setup, but each facilitator has their own unique approach to the mind map. So maybe there are other ideas out there that will help you kind of move in the direction that you want to explore with that mind map. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Bailey, in the chat. We have certainly enjoyed spending this Sunday morning with you. Whether you are a Broadway fan or not, happy Tony Sunday. I will be watching, and we will see everybody soon. Thank you for coming. Have a great Sunday, and we'll see you next time.
Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. They say in heaven, love comes first. We'll make heaven